Well, guys, hey, welcome to Espresso Agent Mastery. This is Bill Crespo, and we've got a special guest today. So, you know, the market is changing. Things are happening. It's always good to have someone with a lot of experience that have been around. So I want to introduce you to Betty. Gale's been around for, you know, it sounds pretty bad, Betty, when I say been around.
I know.
I'm saying, you know, we've both been
long
around this
time.
business for some time. So 30 years in the business, right, Betty?
That's right.
Gosh, so tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into some questions, because I want to really sink into how the market is changing and what's going on and how we can help the people that are on. But tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, as I started in Charleston, South Carolina about 30 years ago, I don't know when it was that I started calling expireds and FSBOs, but really early on when no one was doing it, right? There were like probably 2 or 3 people doing it. So it was easy back then. But I really find that the same principles are in play right now as they were back 30 years ago.
Yeah, and they didn't give you any objections then either, right?
Same objections 30 years ago. So I started my little group. I started as an individual agent and then built a group and then owned a franchise. And now I'm coaching full time with Tom Ferry.
That's great. And what's interesting is that you went from single agent, you've been through the whole process almost of going through this business. And what do you think, since you started to right now, has been the biggest change that you've seen in the industry for you and as you're coaching people? What do you see as a big change?
I think the big teams coming on and the way that the whole business is evolved. It used to be, you know, all the agents knew each other and there was a camaraderie, and now it's like it's just more of a corporate world almost.
With the teams, where as you're coaching people that do want to start a team, what have you learned from the coaching side of it that says, hey, this person's good for it, maybe this person's not so good for it? Because not everybody, I don't think, is ready for a team, are they? Absolutely
not. And you know, I remember I've always had a coach pretty much all through my career, and I remember one of my coaches said, you know, I was building a team and I was having all these frustrations. And he said, wouldn't you be way more profitable if it was just you and your assistant? And we went down through the expenses and everything. And sure enough, that's exactly what it was. So it's just whatever your vision for your future and how you want to build this business. Teams are great. And sometimes they don't work, you know? So, I think when I coach people, we do a lot of work on their personality styles and what their big why and their vision for the future is.
So what would be not a good personality to start a team, and what would be a good personality to start a team?
That's a great question. I think any personality type, you know, we use the DISC, I guess, when we think about the different personality types more often than not. I think any personality could do it. I've seen people in all personality types do it. Probably the driver is going to be the more likely to have a team.
Right.
Or
the driver personality, which is the person who's a little bit more demanding, a little more fast-paced type of person. So you're saying that's a good one. Who would not make a good, what personality would not make a good personality?
I would say that's a really good question. Like when you think about the driver, expressive, amiable,
right,
and the analytical. I think an analytical person can really have a team well because they're not as emotionally attached. I think the amiable will probably trying to please everybody is never going to work.
Yeah. The amiable, which is an S, let's just say on the DISC, is a very nice person. And gosh, you didn't show up today. Okay, we're losing money. That's okay. That's not gonna work.
I mean, they want everybody to always be happy, and that's just not the way it's going to be.
Yeah, not a good deal. So the teams, how big? Because people want to really, remember the old days they were going really, really big. And, hey, I'm doing 50 deals, but I got 10 people on my team, which makes no sense. So what's a manageable size for someone in a good immediate goal in getting a team together?
Well, I think that it's all got to be based on return on investment, so always looking at your expenses from the very start And I think also building a team is when you have so many leads and so much, so many leads coming in that you can't personally handle it and you have too many. And that's when you start building your team. But
Right.
before you build a team of buyer's agents, even though it's easier to start with buyer's agents because they're based on commission,
Right.
I think it's super important to get structure in place and put your administrator in place first before you do anything.
They always talk about how much the split should be, and maybe we shouldn't get into that because that's controversial. But does the team leaders sometimes feel guilty that they always have to provide these leads? What's some of the philosophies you've seen work on that whole subject of providing leads and not providing leads? What's your call on that?
I like the combination where we teach the people to be their own agents and to be able to get their own business coming in, while at the same time, the advantages of the team are that they're going to have administrative help and they're going to have leads coming in. So it's more, I think the team members are more security based than the team leader is willing to take all the risk. And, the people on the team, they would rather have more structure in place and not take as much risk.
Why would someone, you might have just answered that, but if I'm a single agent and somebody approaches me to be on a team, what have you seen as a good team member? You got team leaders that are the driver types, but what makes a good team member, you think?
Well, if you have the team leader and they're a high D personality, say they're on the DISC profile, they're 90% D, and then they hire a team member that also is a high D, that could be a challenge unless that person that they bring on the team has their own responsibilities. And they don't have a clash between the two of them, because that's never going to work.
Right. So if that person had like a responsibility to run a certain aspect of the business, then that would be a good thing.
Right.
Do you think that team members are going to be more expressive, more amiable? Do you think those are good members to have on the team if it's just a single driver running it?
I think one of the questions, and really being upfront in the interview process and taking a long time as we teach to hire people, instead of like, on the day that you get too many leads and you're crazy, you hire somebody that day that walks in.
Right.
It needs to be a really good match. And we start out with the DISC profile to see what their personality style is. And if they're high D and, their personality and you talk to them and their goal is to a high dollar amount, but more than that, they want to lead, they want to be the boss, that's probably not going to work on the team.
Right. Yeah. And, because unfortunately these teams start and they break up, they go, and I think it has to do, I think one of the things you just said was so important, this return on investment, right? The ROI and watching your expenses. What are some of the expenses that typically run away at times for either single agents or teams that you've seen as you work with these?
Oh my gosh. I mean, we're talking the magic bullet. I used to be that way too, so I can really understand it because my personality profile is high D, but also high expressive.
Right.
So the minute a shiny object goes, and I still do it, I have to put people in place to stop me from it. Because I see a shiny object going this way and I want to go onto it. And you can imagine, as I'm coaching all these agents, I hear about all of these new things and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to do that. Oh, I'm going to do that. And I have to stop myself and look at the return on the investment.
So not to buy all the things that just coming at you.
You know what? Right now, I really work with my clients a lot on their expenses,
right?
Because that is so critical. I mean, we'll see people making $2 million in GCI and have zero money. I mean, seriously, it's crazy.
It is
and
crazy.
Then you see somebody that's making 100,000. They've got all this savings in the bank and they're doing great.
Yeah.
And, so we're not looking at the volume anymore. We're looking at the net.
There was a great book, and I just want to mention it because I see. Have you seen the book Profit First? Have you got that book?
I love that book. I just started reading it. It's fabulous.
Got it right here. I don't think I'll be able to show it because the screen won't allow it. But anyway, Profit First. Great book. Get it if you're starting a business. I don't care if they should give us that book when we first started a long time ago.
I mean, really.
Because what are the most common mistakes you've seen people make as they run their businesses in real estate? What do you see the most common?
They don't focus on what the most important thing is. And, I've luckily had coaches, as I mentioned, all through my life, or all through my career. And I know that the most important things are lead generation.
Right.
And, if you don't lead generate and you don't follow up on your leads, then you're not going to do any business. And so it's amazing that I'll see people who do 3 or 4 deals a year, and they will, come into coaching and they have no time to do lead generation. Whereas another person will come in doing 200 deals and they lead generate 3 hours every morning. So it's like, I just read another book by Hal Elrod, his sequel to The Miracle Morning, The Miracle Equation. He's talking about 2 things he says that are important, is like the work ethic and the belief that you can do it. But also the work ethic doesn't mean that you get up at 5 o'clock and work all the way till 12. It means you know what things to do that are going to drive your business.
So let's get controversial just for a second. So how when we first got in, they told us all these things. Remember, they told us, well, gosh, in 3 years, you'll have all these referrals and it start to just flow in. I'm still waiting. So I guess what are some of the fallacies that if I'm coming into business, I got to be really careful of, because it's not exactly true. You've got to be prepared this way. And lead generation, I think, is one of them. What else do you see that with?
What I've just noticed lately with my clients, their database, the people that have the easiest time of it are the people that have from day one. I didn't do it from day one, because back then you didn't have CRMs, you didn't have ways to stay in touch with your database. I would be completely retired, gone, traveling the world, if I'd have started out day one, nurturing my database all along. So I think that is a key component, always having that in mind. And staying, like you say, you have to stay in touch with them. As I go more into coaching, if I don't stay in touch with my database, I'm history after 30 years.
Yeah, that's all you have, really, right? That's really all you have that's your equity in your business. So let's go to lead generation actually fuels that database. So by doing your calls, you're going to be able to build that up. From your estimation of database sizes, when if you're a single agent and you want to have a decent business, how big should your database be, do you think?
Well, I've heard I think Tom Ferry has said, is 10% of your database should convert.
Right.
If you're following up. Is that what you hear, or do you hear a different number?
I think 10%. I think that bringing back a fallacy is that you need to pile in so many of these people in there, like thousands and thousands and thousands, because they're making you believe you need all that, which is meaning that we're not IBM and we're not Apple. So I think that the 10% makes sense, but you've got to really work it, right? And
totally work it. Yeah.
What would you recommend from your experiences? Hey, how often you got to touch base with these people? Well,
I think the 33 touch thing is, I say 3 times a month in different ways and different modalities.
Yeah, I agree. And what's interesting too is this whole thing of prospecting for sale bones and expireds and the follow-up on there. Because the other side of that coin is with physicals and expireds, people don't have a lot of patience. How come they don't?
And that is absolute 100% key to it all. It is all in the lead follow-up.
Yeah. And how did they get away? Why aren't these agents having enough patience in the lead follow-up? Because I think we want immediate gratification, and you got to have some patience with FSBOs and expireds, or else you're gonna go broke probably. So
it's so true. Yeah.
What do you recommend system-wise for lead follow-up for this, or how to do it?
Well, I've used Espresso and a similar system for as soon as it came out. And if I gave up everything I had as far as spending money, the only thing that I would really keep would be Espresso as a way to keep up with everyone. Okay. I think it's so important, and for the price, it is so reasonable on, you know, considering all the other things. And it's been a gold mine for me. I mean, I've made millions and millions of dollars, but it is all, and I try to tell my clients this, they go in to, they get the platform, or they decide they're going to do expireds or for sale by owners. They go in there, and I'm telling you, within a week, they're out of there. This doesn't work in my town. You know, it's like every excuse in the book I've heard. You know, we don't have any expireds in my area. You know, when I started out, the person that was doing the most expireds, he did 300 deals, and he was in a small little town, and they had 1, maybe 2 expireds a day. And he would just accumulate them and call the same ones over and over and over again. It's the same thing, except now it's easier because we got Espresso.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting too, and because the system is there for follow-up. So, you know, this is perfect. But I think, what is it with people nowadays? They want immediate gratification. If I don't get a call, if they don't call me back, if they're not nice to me, I'm never going to talk to them again. In the meantime, they list with someone.
Exactly.
They list with someone, you know, or they say, you know, we hate real estate people. We'll never. And then next thing you know, they list with someone. So follow up. How often, you know, let's say you make the call. There's all kinds of different philosophies. What has worked that you've seen in follow up? How often do you follow up? Because there's going to be a point in time where these people are ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, right now, what happens, and some people in the bigger markets know this, if it comes up expired on the first day, if you start calling at 9, you're way late. There's 40 people who've already called, right? So I tell my clients that, like, here's the way it works. Say maybe 40 call on the first day, 30 on the second day, 20 on the third day, 10 on the next day, and then they all start dropping off. You want to be the last one standing.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing if you do that. I saw there's a Facebook page, and they were talking about expires, and it was in their platform, in their Espresso platform. They had like no answer. Called and said called them. They said not selling now, and it was like 20 things that the person told them. And then on the 21st time they called, they got the appointment and listed this expensive property.
Yeah. What do they say, that 95% of your competition is gone after the 5th no?
Yeah.
Because, you know, people are, no, we hate real estate people, and they're gone. Another group, no, and there's no comeback, so they all leave, which is good news for everybody that's listening right now, because there's opportunities right now.
Total opportunity.
In the marketplace. What do you see after all these years? What are we in right now? What kind of market do you think we're in right now?
A crazy market.
That's for sure. Yeah, isn't it weird? It is kind of strange. There's no rhyme or reason here, Betty. I don't understand.
But here's what I think. I think the person that has the good intention, that wants to be of service, is the person that's going to win out. And another post I saw was this lady who, she said she called, and she was like the guy, she got the wrong number. She got the son of the listing agent, or the seller. And he said, "You are the 40th person that's called. I'm not talking to you." And somehow she broke that invisible shield that we try to get through. And she broke through, and she started talking to him, you know, just like a person, right? Instead of a machine.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Talked to him, and he said, you know, they had a great conversation. She hung up, and she didn't think anything about it. You know, she's trying to get the dad's number. A week later, he called her back, and he said, "You know, I'm gonna list my house, and I thought of all the people that called, I'm gonna list with you."
Yeah, great.
The only human that she had on the phone, that he had on the phone, right?
Yeah, yeah, and you made a great point. I think that we're getting to the point where the consumer is getting almost as good as we are in the opposite direction, right? They're sick of salespeople. They're sick of people with commission breath, you know, trying to choke them, you know, on the phone. And so it is going to be how you speak. And I think that's so neat that there is opportunity even for a new person coming into the business. I don't think that this is all over with, because the market is so up and down, but it's persistence that counts. When you first started, or let's just say for someone just starting, what should they be doing? I mean, really think about
They
it.
should be practicing instead of feeling discouraged. It should be all about a learning process. I remember Debbie Holloway, who's another coach. She was talking about she hired a listing agent to help her in her business, and she said, go out there for 6 months and don't take a listing. You know, even if they want to give it to you, don't take it, refer it out, because she didn't want her to be attached to the outcome. You know, I love that. I always thought of that. And I always tell my people, you have got to give this time. And I look at a lady that's done $3 million. She had never done an expired. She is now making $3 million from expireds. And it took her 6 months to get a listing.
Wow. Yeah. So you got to be patient.
So I think it's the learning process and not feeling, you know, getting over feeling like you're going to give up. It's like what I was saying with Hal Elrod. It's the belief, like I have the belief. I've got millions of dollars over the years that I know have come from expireds, but people starting out don't have that belief. And so they're going to be looking, who wants, they're yelling, people are screaming and yelling. You want to look for an excuse. It's just a natural reflex to want to say, this doesn't work,
Right. Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah, someone sold me to this career, and this career is not exactly what I wanted. I think I'm going to go back to McDonald's and do the French fry thing. No, but so let's put a list. Let's do something here, because I'm sure that people go, okay, listen, I either want to start my business or I gotta put it back together again. It's not exactly. So let's put a plan for them. That'd be kind of cool. Let's put a business plan. If they wanted to jumpstart their business today, let's list the things that they should do. So number one, hey, it's not going that well right now, Betty. What should I do? I got to get it back on track. So let's make a list.
Back on track. So, the first thing I'm thinking is of course, all the people in your sphere and your database. Mm-hmm. Have they already done that?
So let's just say, okay, so you're saying call your center of influence, and how intense should they do this? How focused should they be on calling their database? Or if they don't have a strong one, they've got to build one up. So how often should they be doing this every day?
I think that's something to do every single day. And it doesn't mean you're calling with a hard sell. You're calling to let them know that you're in real estate, you're there to help them. And, we have all the scripts for what to say if you don't know what to say, or say you've been in it a long time and you're just coming back strong, and you have your people and you say, I don't want to call them because it's been so long, then there's a script for that. I want to apologize. It's been so long since we talked, and, there's a script these days. I don't want you to use scripts and sound scripted, but I want you to have that behind you so that you know what to say and you feel comfortable saying it.
I heard this the other day. How you haven't talked to someone for a long time and you're going, oh my gosh, you're thinking that these people hate you. And they're saying, well, what's a good warm opener? And someone said, hey, hi, Betty, this is Bill. I was just thinking about you the other day. How would you feel when you hear that? You got to go, oh, that was really nice. And that's just an opener. So that's really good. Now, here's the other thing. What if I just moved into the area, only been here for 2 years? Mm-hmm. Who do I call? How do I get that going?
30 years, I believe in numbers. And I remember Tom Ferry said one time, he said, if people would just understand that real estate is math, it's the more people that you talk to, the more chances you are up at bat, the more people that you're going to convert to working with you. Yeah. So I've always had it be numbers. We've had an average with our coaching clients that every 40 conversations equals one transaction.
That's cool.
And of course it's different for everybody. It's different. Right. Somebody calling expireds and as calling their database. But I love that because you want to be able to predict your business. You don't want to have it be a roller coaster for, 30 years. If you're going to have this be your career, you don't want it to be a roller coaster. My first years were definitely roller coaster years.
Yeah. So that could be number two. So number one, it's almost a side note. Number one is you got to start calling people, center of influence, past clients. Number two, maybe not to be consistent. How many hours a day, if you're new, you want to jumpstart your business or you're new, how many hours should we be putting into doing this?
Well, I remember Tom's dad, Mike, used to say, if you're new, but you have nothing else to do, call all day. Yeah. My thought is it's hard to do that. So I think you need some breaks in between.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy to do that. I'm a proponent. Everybody says, when's the best time to call? I am such a proponent of calling in the morning.
Yeah.
Just because your energy is in the afternoon is it's not as high as it is in the morning. And you need all of your energy to take this because it's hard. That's the hardest part. That's why people don't want to do it.
There's a book out that I read called Alter Ego, great book, about how you have to transform to be this person for prospecting. Because you just can't be mom or dad or sister, brother, and you go, oh, I don't think I'm just going to call and just left a riot leaving your home. You do have to get ready because you know how it is when you're first starting out. So you really got to get ready. What would be how do you get ready for prospecting? What do you do, or what did you do to get ready for prospecting?
Excuse me, I'm a big proponent, as you already said, with Hal Elrod in the Miracle Morning. I'm like up at 5 o'clock. If I don't get meditation in and exercise in, I don't exercise every day. Most days I do, but I think you have to get your energy up. You have to eat right. It's a physical thing. It really is a physical thing and a mental thing, you know, visualizing what you're going to do, visualizing how your lead generation is going, visualizing being successful, affirming with affirmations. All of those things are super important.
You know, it sounds so easy, but you know how hard it is for people to do that? You know, yeah, well, I know for us, because we've been in this business for so long in the educational side of training, but how do you start that when you have never done that before?
Yeah, and that's the same. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a perfect little person. Now I go off myself. You know? I go off myself, and it's a constant. I know that when I start the day like that, I have a better day like that. It's almost a decision that you make. You know, I'm going to make that decision in the morning to have a good day. And if you start out in a different mode, it usually doesn't go as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. I like what you said there, decision. You got to make the decision.
But it's like, I also believe that you need to build up. Just like I always equate almost all of this lead generation to me is the same thing as working out in the gym. You know, it's the same analogy. You're not going to the gym and get an expired listing the first day you go to the gym. The same analogy. And you're not going to get muscles when you first start working out with your trainer. It's going to take a while. And that's the whole thing. And I think, and you don't go to your trainer and say, I'm running a marathon, but I can't walk down the steps now. So I think you have to build on it. That's why I think coaching is so important, because if you give somebody a couple of weeks, they're off on like the other shiny object. They're totally gone in a different direction.
Yeah. It's so, and I feel, and you probably feel the same way I do, is that when you see them go down that other direction, it's almost like everybody takes that same dumb path. Let me buy everything. And all of a sudden I'm broke and I'm thinking about getting a new job. And basically it's just slowing down to speed up, right? Just taking your time. Mm-hmm. And how much training time, how much extra time should I put in to learn things every week so that I get better? What do you see? You know,
this is what I do not understand. There is so much out there to learn, like this. Like, you know, or coming to something like this, or going on YouTube and pulling up somebody that's great at expireds, or going to Espresso and see all the unbelievably great information that's out there. People don't do it. No. They don't do it. They don't do it. And like listening to one video, I remember listening to a listing presentation right before I went, and I had 5 people I was competing with. And right before I went, I thought, I'm not even going. There's no way I'm going to get it. I listened to that listing presentation, and then I went to the listing, and I got it. I felt like the words coming out of my mouth were not my words. They were the guy's words, you know?
Right.
It worked.
So it's putting that information in your head, and it just goes away. You know, you just remind yourself, what's the craziest story that ever happened to you in real estate? Like the wackiest thing that ever happened to you in real estate?
You're asking me?
Yeah. You've been around like this.
Oh, okay. I don't know. This is probably not the craziest, but I went on a listing presentation. It was a Front Beach house, and the lady had a little tiny dog, and he was like, you know, barking and nipping, and he bit the hell out of me, like a big chunk out of my leg. And I just pretended like he didn't, and, you know, went on with the listing
you're bleeding. Yes,
I
ma'am.
got the listing, but the first thing, of course, I did, like, my leg is all bleeding and everything.
Well, yeah, that would be a problem. Ma'am, can you flick up
That
your
wasn't the
blood on the
craziest,
way
but
out?
that just came to my mind. That probably was the craziest.
No, well, it does say that our composure, because we go into crazy situations. We're in someone's house. I remember I'm looking at the lady, right, doing the presentation, and on my left side of my eye, I'm watching a 2-year-old jump on the 8-month-old, like to kill. I mean, just jumping on. I'm going, ma'am, I think your son is killing your other kid. Can you turn around and take a look at it? It's just that we're in people's houses, and I think at times, we forget that because we're so into doing the presentation that we forget that all these things are going on, and we have to adapt. Like you said in the beginning, that it's really it's not bad what personality you are. You just got to know how to adapt, right? You just got to have to adapt to different situations, And I think that's what I've learned over the years. And it sounds like, I've never bled.
It's like knowing the personality types. And this is a learning process, like, because, I've been doing it so long that it's intuitive for me when I'm talking to somebody to match their tonality and the way they're talking. That's natural to me. It's also natural if I got an analytical person, I'm not going to go in and force them to sign the contract right now,
Yeah.
So, but that's been intuition. But I think studying those kinds of things and being more versatile with being able to talk to different people.
Yeah. And this is kind of outside of regular real estate training, right? You got contracts, you got the laws changing, but we forget about how much time should we put into this other stuff every day, do you think? How much time do you think we should do that?
It's a lot. And also, role playing. I think role playing is super important. And I resisted that because I was pretty naturally good with people. So I thought, well, I'll just use my scripts, and then when I was forced to learn the scripts and you use the scripts and you get an outcome that you can't even believe you're getting because you're using scripts that work. And so, the key is not to be a robot, if they ever say you're using a script, then something's wrong,
Right, yeah.
You gotta learn the scripts. What was this quote I just recently heard? I forgot who it's from. Picasso, I think. Or you got to learn the rules so that you can break them. Right. You got to learn the scripts so that you can deviate if you need to deviate.
It's almost like I call it freestyling. You don't have to, you have to know how to be in a situation with people, and you don't have to have the words exactly, but you got to know where you're going, right? You got to know how you're to shuck and jive through the conversation, which is really important. So I just thought of something else that I think most people don't get to see. So I don't know if you want to do this or not, but let's make believe that I'm one of your clients.
Okay.
And let's show them what coaching is all about, because I think that just a little bit, we won't get too heavy because I
don't want to do that.
Hey, watch, I won't be a basket case and complain, but let's just say, I say to you, which happens a lot, I was busy yesterday and I couldn't get to prospecting.
So Bill, last week you said you would do 1 hour every day of lead generation, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't get it. You didn't get a chance to do it.
No, I was dealing with that contract that was ready to blow up.
Oh yeah. So you had that contract that you thought was going to fall apart. So you felt like that was more important?
Well, yeah, because that's money. Things have been tight and I need to make some money.
Yeah. And so what time were you going to do that? Like every morning?
I told you I was going to do it at 9 o'clock.
Okay. And I think we said that you were just going to do it for the hour. Did you say how many conversations you were going to have during that hour?
Well, you told me to call my database and I just busy because plus, this deal, I'm telling you right now, this deal was, it was like, it's $10,000 check, I didn't want to lose it.
Yeah. And, I always heard this from early on when I was in coaching, Bill, when I tried to use those excuses, my coach would tell me, that's a great excuse, but that's not going to cut it. If you want the goals that you set out to do, right? You do.
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm.
Then you got to do what it's going to take to do you believe that lead generation is going to lead to business?
Yes, I do that because, you know, that's one of the reasons why I got into coaching, because I wanted that to happen. But you know how it is, we just get sidetracked.
Well, one of my coaches said there's no emergencies unless a house is burning down that can't wait for an hour.
Right.
You know, what I've learned too is that sometimes if you have an emergency and a closing, that if you don't respond to it that second, sometimes it can work itself out.
Right.
Would you be willing to wait 1 hour to get your lead generation in? And would there be a way that you could do your lead generation without being distracted by your phone or by even knowing that that was going on?
Yeah, I could. I probably should have checked my email when I first walked in.
Well,
That's
then your email would, if you did your email, then you're going to see the problem. And I understand, like when I see a problem, you know, that gets me away from my lead generation. I want to fix the problem. That's
Right.
just natural. So what can you do to not be distracted in the morning so that you can say with 100%, Betty, I'm going to do my lead generation?
Well, I first of all, I probably should not look at maybe not put my computer on to look at my email and then just make the calls and just do it. Just make the calls or give my phone to my assistant or the girl in the office here to help me out.
There you go. Great. Great. Now, do you want to take your goals down or do you want to recommit to your power?
I want to recommit, man. I really want to get this going. I mean, I've got to make it happen.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that would distract you?
Well, you know, I think right now, if I could just stay focused on that, and you know, people still come into my office all the time and interrupt me. So I don't know what I got to do there, but I just got to make sure that people just leave me alone.
That's true. That is so true, isn't it? And how can you stop that?
I'm just going to tell people that I just got to be shut down, shut down and just stay focused. I got to let everybody know, hold my calls. Just, you know, I'm not going to reach my goal.
You have a door where you could put a sign up on the door?
I sure do. Yeah.
And you could do that, like lead generation 9 to 10.
Leave me alone, skull and crossbones, poison or whatever. Get away from me. No, yeah. I agree. Betty, that was great. I love how you did that. Actually, you did it in I think people sometimes think that sometimes coaches just beat up on people, but you really, it's almost like a velvet hammer, your approach, you know what it is, which is really nice, but also specific. And I think that people are afraid of coaching because of that, thinking that, oh my gosh, well, yeah, I mean, you hired Betty to help you and I've got to accept it. What are some of why do people resist coaching so much?
You know, my biggest pet peeve and the people that are hardest to coach are the people that make the commitments and then they don't remember what the commitment was. And then so the next day, luckily I write it down so I remember. So they get used to remembering or knowing that I'm going to know what they committed to. So I have some clients that, you know, it takes me a long, long time. We have to scale it back down, you know, scale it. That was too much. Okay. That's too much. You know, maybe an hour is too much. You can't do it. Right. You know, I try to explain to them too, it's natural to make excuses or try to put this off.
Right.
You know, and I try to get them, they have to have the belief though. I have to instill the belief in them that the lead generation is going to produce an outcome.
Right.
Because a lot of them that have never done it before, they don't know that it's the whole gist of their business, right?
Well, in sales, I think we were led to believe that you don't really need to do this. And I love it when these people sometimes go, you don't have to prospect, you just lay in bed and do social media and that's going to be the answer to all your prayers. And the market is shifting. So I think that what you just said is so important. The belief that it's going to work. Because if you come into it negative, of course it's not going to work because you came into it negative. I mean, but if you come into it positive, it's going to work. So Betty, final words, tips that you want to give someone before we leave. What would you want to tell people about how to handle this marketplace so they can have the success that they need for themselves and for their family?
To find models of people that have already done it and hang around with them. Don't listen to the people in your office that are going to go, oh yeah, our market's not going to work, or are you crazy? You know, find the people that have $1 million in the bank and they've gotten it from lead generation, you know, and even the people that are heavy into social media, they also lead generate. If they didn't, they're not going to bring in, I mean, they're complimenting what they're doing. If they don't follow up on that, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, your eggs are not in one basket. I mean, you've got other things going on too.
And the people that I can tell you with 100%, the people that are the most consistent are the people that are the ones that are knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, that's huge. So consistency, belief in yourself, right? And having a lead generate, you put that combination together, and a coach.
And learning from others that have done it.
Yeah, learning from others. That's beautiful. Betty, this is great. We got to bring you back.
Oh, I had fun.
This is good stuff. Well, listen,
thanks. I learned a lot too.
Yeah, thanks so much. And yeah, we should put a show together. No, I was kidding. But anyway, thanks so much, everybody who's on today. And if you're watching as a recording, the Master Series here at Espresso, we're going to have other people just like Betty, and we appreciate Betty. Thank you for being on. It was great.
I'll be watching. I love what y'all are doing.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Have a good day. Bye.